most trust breakdowns in the organizations don't come from bad decisions. They come from broken communication, especially when leaders are under a lot of pressure. A few years ago, my husband and I were on this flight to Granada. And when we started descending, I started looking out the window as usual, and I was really captivated by this beautiful, glittering sea. But then I thought Granada is not on the coast. We went from, oh, did we really board the wrong flight, to, oh no, something is definitely wrong, in just a few seconds. You could actually feel the tension around in the cabin as well. People started whispering, what's going on? What's wrong? Why is nobody telling us anything? And from the pilot, nothing, nada, absolute silence. And very quickly, that silence became very loud. Your brain starts filling out the gaps when there is no information from the leaders. Is there something wrong? Why isn't anybody telling us anything? Eventually we landed, but in Malaga. It wasn't anything dramatic. It was just a quick divert because the weather was not really good. But the not knowing created unnecessary stress. A single sentence from the pilot would have changed the entire emotional experience for everybody. When people look to you for direction, what do they hear when you say nothing? Silence, especially from someone in the position of authority, is never neutral. This idea comes from the work of social psychologist Adam Galinsky, who studies power and leadership. His research shows that when you are in a position of authority, everything you say or do, or you don't say or don't do, weight more than what you realize. People are already paying attention, so very small behaviors land with disproportionate weight. Galinsky shares a great story from his life as well. When he was a new assistant professor, one morning he saw a PhD student and asked her to meet her at his office at 3 p.m. When the student arrived, she was very clearly anxious. And when Adam Galinsky told her that it was just one of those routine research check-ins, she exploded and she said, "Never do this again to me. I've been stressed the whole day and I have done no work whatsoever in the past 6 hours." Now, Adam Galinsky thought she was just overreacting. But then the very next morning, he got the very same message from a senior professor. "We need to talk." And suddenly, he was the person walking down the corridor with that knot in his stomach. Exactly the same words, completely different meanings because of power. If a friend tells you we need to talk, it might be about dinner plans, it might be about something that they need to share with you. It can be worrying because it's vague, but it's nothing dramatic. When your boss says we need to talk, your brain goes straight into the worst case scenarios. So the real question is, what signals can leaders intentionally send in everyday behavior to keep teams confident, aware, and willing to engage and speak up? And this is where leadership often goes wrong, not because of big decisions, but in everyday small behaviors. In my work with teams and senior leaders, I see this pattern continuously. People working hard, they're doing what they think is expected of them, but they are never quite sure, am I adding value? Is this the right priority? Am I on the right track? It's not because leaders don't care. It's because the expectations, direction, and feedback stay implicit instead of explicit. When those signals are missing, people start thinking out loud. They may not stop working, but they stop taking initiatives. They play it safe. They second guess everything they do. Galinsky's research helps explain why. After studying tens of thousands of people around the world, he found 3 consistent patterns in leaders people find inspiring and exactly the same things that people find infuriating. I will share these not just as theory, but as a lens for everyday leadership behavior. The first pattern is that inspiring leaders see the bigger picture and they help others see it too. They are visionary in a very practical way. Most leaders believe that they have communicated the vision really well because they have said it once. But what teams experience is completely different. They experience it in fragments, especially when things get busy or messy or tough. People feel grounded when they understand where we are going, why it matters, and how their work connects to it. Galinsky describes a few behaviors that make this vision actually stick. See the big picture, embed it in your values, simplify it, make it visual, and repeat it, far more than it feels necessary. There is a reason visual language matters. In one analysis of US presidential convention speeches, the use of vivid metaphorical language predicted electoral success, even when controlling for economic and political factors. When leaders make direction concrete, people don't just understand it, they feel it. One of the biggest gaps I see with senior leaders is that they think clarity is durable. It is not. Clarity fades, especially under pressure, unless leaders deliberately reinforce it. The second pattern of inspiring leaders is they stay steady when things get messy. They act as exemplars. In moments of uncertainty, people don't just listen to what leaders say. They observe, they watch how they show up. Tone of voice, pace, body language, what gets acknowledged, what doesn't get acknowledged, all of these things matter. Galinsky's research shows that emotions spread through teams very quickly. Calm is contagious, so is anxiety. Being an exemplar doesn't mean that you need to pretend everything is fine all the time. It means modeling the response you want others to have. During change or ambiguity, if leaders appear unsettled, teams immediately prepare for the worst-case scenario, and morale drops long before any formal decision is made. The third pattern of inspiring leaders is they lift others. They are good mentors. And this isn't about coaching, it's about creating ownership. One study Galinsky points to look at weekly 20-minute team meetings. When supervisors step back and let team members lead the agenda, productivity increased and turnover dropped. Another finding comes from negotiation research. When people are given 2 options, the outcomes improve. Why? Because choice creates autonomy, and autonomy matters. Self-determination theory shows that autonomy is one of the main pillars of motivation. Even small choices change how people engage. Do you want to do this or do you want to do this rather than do this? That changes everything. Choice leads to ownership. Ownership leads to engagement, and engagement surfaces issues much faster before they turn into risks. Together, these three patterns, visionary, exemplar, and mentor, map directly onto what people need to perform well. Clarity when things shift, safety when risks emerge, and ownership so problems surface early. That is why training alone doesn't always change behavior. To enable performance, leaders have to shape the conditions under which behavior happens, not only build skills. So, how do you stay on the inspiring side intentionally? Galinsky uses a simple monthly practice he calls REAP. You reap what you sow. R stands for reflect. Ask yourself, when did I inspire? When did I shut someone down? When was my silence confusing? E stands for emulate. Think of someone who lifted you up and copy one of their behaviors intentionally. A stands for act with intention. Pick one micro intention for the month. It could be explain the why, name contributors, give 2 options instead of 1, or anything else. Practice. P stands for practice. Repetition builds identity. The first time is awkward. The 5th time is a tiny bit easier. And the 50th time, it becomes who you are. At the start, I told you about the flight to Granada, how a short period of silence created unnecessary stress and fear. Most leadership moments are exactly like that. Nothing catastrophic, but small gaps where people don't know what's going on, so they fill in the gaps. And that changes the experience dramatically. It changes the trust, it changes the confidence and the willingness to speak up. Galinsky's work shows that leadership doesn't require charisma or grand gestures. It requires awareness and paying attention to the very small signals you send every day, especially in those small moments.